Had a good practice today. We still have no clearance as to what's going on yet with the conference. I don't know what else I can say other than we've made our second day of preparation. It was good practice. We're all waiting to see what the timetable is, but we went ahead and proceeded and did what we needed to do today. We'll have meetings this afternoon. Our signing class is all signed. We're all excited about that. They were all done and signed before I actually had our 10 o'clock meeting, which is a good thing. It's a really good class. I think impactful players that we think that can help us and obviously create better depth. And, I think they're going to be impactful players that can help us, just like some of these freshmen did, this year for us. So it's not a big class, but I think every one of these players are the players that we were looking for specifically in terms of the style of how they play and how we see them fit in our systems. So we feel really good about the class. I know they have bought into our philosophy of what we're trying to build here as a program. They understand the direction that we're going. They know that they're a big piece to that in terms of making the steps of improvement and elevating our program to taking the next step. I think they all understand there's work to be done. Are they encouraged by what they saw this year as with our team? I think they were really excited about the success we've had as a program so far, and they see the fruits to their labors when they come in here that they can take it another step higher. So all these players are they're chomping at the bit. They're excited to be part of our program, and we look forward for them to get here.
You have got the emails, the class, the notes, the bios, and the transcript of Carl's show this morning with Mark Johnson, which gives you plenty of additional quotes that he had talked about on this recruiting class. So without further ado, let's start and go to Adam Musterdagger.
Hi, Coach. As you, Coach Langsdorf, and the rest of the staff started to evaluate quarterbacks in that 2021 class, what made Drew Carter stand out and make him become a top priority for you guys?
We felt he was a tremendous athlete. If you guys know, and I'm sure you followed, that he's a pretty good basketball player. He's comes from a very athletic family. We feel he's a guy that's dynamic and can make plays with his legs and throw the football well, and he's proven that in some of the showcase camps and stuff that he's done in the spring and in the late summer. We just think he's a dynamite talent that can definitely be groomed into playing a quarterback position and do it very effectively with the style of offense that we want. So we're really excited about him.
Hart Pisani.
I know you mentioned about this being an impactful class and a group of guys that you think can help. And I know it's hard to gauge this when they're not there and you haven't seen them in your own practice yet, but is there anybody that stands out as somebody that could come in right away and maybe earn some playing time, or are you still trying to get the feel for that?
I think everyone is going to, the mindset that I've created when we were recruiting these guys is that we felt that they can impact us all right away, and that's every position. Every position that's in this class. We got two offensive linemen, what we think that could help us in our depth. We got a couple of receivers the same way. We feel that they can help us in our depth. We need a tight end, and we got our local kid we think with Eric Olson, we think he can help us. So defensively, we got 3 defensive linemen. We feel that can help us. The outside backers, the inside backers, the corners, the safeties. All of these players, we feel they can help us and impact us to improve us to be better next year. So all of these guys have a chance to help us right away.
Brian Howell.
Hey, Coach, with Tyler leaving especially, is there a need for you guys to maybe go out and try to find an experienced quarterback to come in and give some depth?
We're going to continue to evaluate everything. There's stuff that's in the portal and guys that didn't sign today, and all those. There's a lot of situations that are out there with guys that might be haven't made decisions yet. So we do have some room for more, but we're going to continue to scour anything and everything that can help us in any position. So we're going to keep our antennas up for anything that might happen between now and February too. So Well, even though the recruiting class from what we earmarked as committed players, that's done, but recruiting's never over, right? So we're always going to continue to find players, whether it's on the portal or guys that haven't made a decision and haven't signed on December 16th. We're going to continue to look for players that can help us.
Justin Guerrero.
Coach, when you and your staff got settled in Boulder in February and March, and you were looking through the roster here that you had, and as well as the 2020 guys coming in, were there any position groups in particular with this 2021 class that you wanted to particularly emphasize in trying to get in?
I said this before, but I'll say it again. I think the guys that we earmarked in this class have the ability to help us right away. And that's answering Brian's question that he just had. So we've specifically recruited them for a particular purpose to be here. So it wasn't just to take numbers, which I think programs do. These guys, because of the small class and the small senior class that's leaving, they're very specific about why we're recruiting them and why they can help us. So every one of these guys have a chance to impact us. Okay, so it's probably a different philosophy. It's my philosophy. I want guys that we think that can play and help us right away, and we feel that this class gives us that chance at every position.
Terry Fry.
You've talked about buying into the culture, creating a culture, this group being part of a culture. How is your culture different? Because all coaches say that. How is yours different and genuine?
Well, a lot of the stuff that we share in our culture stays in our culture. That doesn't necessarily become public. I don't like to express the things, our pillars that what we are stand for and what we do. That's not something that I want it to be common ground for everybody to know. So it's all about the football aspect, and we got well-rounded kids that school and football, they're balanced to be they're motivated in both areas. I want them to be the bottom line, what I've told their parents is that I want to create the best version of themselves here at Colorado. So they're going to get great coaching and technique with our assistants, with their positions. They're going to also be groomed to, maybe take their, the things that are on the table for the NCAA, for example, the being able to take advantage of their image and likeness, which is on the table in the NCAA standpoint. That's kind of going to be new to the college arena. That's probably going to come up now in that they're here at Colorado. That's going to probably be approved at some point. So I want them to create a positive image about themselves and brand themselves, and do a number of things. It's not just football, but it's to create and do things that represent this program in the right way. So I want well-rounded players that are fantastic players, but they're also motivated to do things off the field, motivated to be successful in life. So part of our culture is creating that type of, attitude about we want to maximize their potential, as young men, not only on the football field, but also, outside the football field.
Curious, as a CU alum, were you able to bring in the U.S. Highway 36 scenic overlook into play at all in recruiting still?
The overlook?
Yeah.
Well, that's always something I do mention about because I think it's fantastic, even though I've been here 3 times, and every time I come over 36 down the bluff towards Boulder, there's not a more magnificent sight than to see our school in the setting right underneath the Flatirons and being right in the setting of the Rocky Mountains. That we're a very unique place. I think the players understand that. They like this type of environment. So we play great football, so I want guys that are, I think that, they understand, what this program's all about. I think they got a great feel of what their surroundings are. It's a great college community. We've been ranked #1 in the country in terms of a college community for a number of years. There's a particular reason for that. So, I think they want to enjoy the experience here. They know that there's been top-level football here in the past, particularly in the 90s. I'm a big version of that. So, we've expressed a lot about what this program was, and we're going to bring it back to a level that it's been back when I was coaching as an assistant.
Hey, Coach, I know you mentioned that recruiting's never really over. In the past couple of days, we've seen some players decommit from the University of Arizona, including some players that mentioned Colorado as a finalist for their destination. Have y'all been having any conversations with guys who decommitted from other schools or Arizona in hopes to get them to come to your way?
It has been. We are an attractive place. And I think, yes, you're right. There's been a number of players that have reached out, that have entered the portal, and and we can't actually have any contact unless they were in there. So I would say yes. There's been some contact at some level with a number of players, and that's why I was mentioning to the fact that recruiting's never over. We're going to continue to look for players that we think can be ideal that could help us, and be really specific about that. But we know that because of our exposure this year and what at least it looks like our program is heading in the right direction. There's a lot of people interested in that, which is fabulous. But we still got to make sure they're the type of players that I think are conducive for our program. So we are going to evaluate, any and all situations that are, whether it's guys that want to transfer in the portal or even guys that haven't made their commitments yet.
Hey, Coach, how you doing? Hey, I think your offensive line coach recruited or coached Jackson Anderson's dad, and obviously your son, I think, went to the same high school as Alan Ball. I guess I was just curious, how important is it to have eyes just all around in different places like that?
It's really important. To me, I'm a journeyman in the coaching profession, right? So I've been in a number of places. I've lived in Miami twice, so I do have some connections in the South Florida area. St. Thomas Aquinas is obviously one of those places my son went to school. So there's a lot of coaches that have backgrounds of where they're from or where they've coached the longest, or maybe have coached a kid's dad, like you mentioned with Mitch Rodriguez. So, all of those scenarios are in play. We're going to look for and scour to try to find the best players that fit us. And yes, all of those things are in play. So we do try to take advantage of our backgrounds where we're really comfortable and had recruiting ties and things like that. So we, even though we have kind of a western part of the country is our base, but we'll go into Florida and Georgia, in North Carolina. We got, Tyron Taylor from North Carolina. So we just have ties from, some of the coaches that have backgrounds in other areas. We're going to continue to recruit where there's some connections there. Absolutely.
And Pat, if you saw the notes, we've got 10 first-time high schools representing kids coming for the first time to see you. Back to Brian Howell.
Hey, Coach, I got a couple for you real quick. This is so unique in that you guys aren't usually in the middle of a season when signing day hits. So I'm curious if you're sort of relieved to have this day out of the way as you look forward to your last game or two. That's my first question for you.
Well, yes. It's good to get our class that we've had committed all be on board and sign, and there was no surprises. So yes, that was one. And like I mentioned earlier, we're still looking to bolster the class in any way we can, whether that's with a grad transfer or someone that hasn't made a decision. So we still have, some opportunities there too. So was I relieved? Absolutely, Brian. It's one hurdle we've overcame, and it was finished and done, and now we can move to the next phases of our developing our program.
And then my second question for you is, we've seen around the country, players opting out, even lately, the last few days. I'm curious if you guys, other than Tyler Lytle, is there anybody that's decided to opt out for the remainder of the season for you guys?
We have a number of players, I won't say that have opted out. We have some guys that are injured that can't play for the rest of the season. So they're around, but they're not going to play, right? So we have a number of guys that have surgeries and guys that have had injuries, and some of those injuries are extensive enough where they won't be able to play, but they're still here on campus.
Sorry, didn't hit the right button. Yeah, I want to piggyback off that. First, are there names other than Nate we don't know on that surgery list? First of all, Carl.
On the surgery list, you know that Chance had surgery last week, right? Chance Lytle. Correct.
Chance and Nate. So anyone other than Chance and Nate that's new?
That have had surgeries. Those are the newest that we've had. You know, Brady Russell had his lower leg procedure done too as well, but you know he still has a chance to play in the bowl game. Then we had a couple guys that came out of training camp that were injured. You guys remember those, right? Nico Pahauhau and Austin Johnson. Remember those from training camp?
Okay.
You guys remember them? I don't hear anything. You guys remember what?
Yeah.
They're nodding. Brian's nodding.
You guys are nodding where I can't see that or hear that. So,
I know.
but yeah,
Brian,
those are.
good.
I would say the two most recent are what you guys with Nate and Chance.
Hey, real quick on today, as somebody who has done this a long time and has done it here, how is recruiting in the Pac-12 different than late 90s, a generation ago? Now, I hate saying that because it makes me feel old too. And how does the portal and the name and likeness stuff, how does that change that too from the late 90s and what you specifically can pitch to guys? Especially with the name and likeness front. I mean, do they get to, do they get a Coors sponsorship? I mean, how does that work?
Well, I don't know the specifics on that. I think there's some things they'll be able to get some promotional income from, but I don't know the specifics on that. That's something that actually is going for vote in January. So that's why I mean that it's not in place yet. It hasn't passed the NCAA bylaws or anything yet, and if it does, it'll pass this summer. So, but I want to be prepared for that. Just like I told you with this incoming class, I want them to understand that there will be some branding opportunities, and it looks like the culture of the college sports has changed. Where people are going to be able to create some promotional opportunity for themselves. Has recruiting changed? Absolutely. It's completely changed. A lot of it is, everything is on social media, everything. And you guys are on social media, so you guys keep up with a lot of things. The way you do your work is different than it was in the 90s because you have more access and easier access to the information that you guys are trying to get. So you're asking if recruiting has changed? Absolutely. The way that you guys report has changed. Isn't that right, since the 90s? And most information's either done by email or it's you don't even, who gets a newspaper anymore? Not many. My point is that, yeah, a lot has changed. So that's just the signs of the time. So is it a bad thing? I won't say it's a bad thing. It's just what it is. It's the information technology time of how we do things. So I know our players can easily see what's good or bad about themselves, with people's opinions about, a particular player or so. So there's a lot of stuff that's changed. Everything that we do in life has changed. We're all exposed 24 hours a day.
Carl, when I started out, there were these things called typewriters.
Yeah, or word processors, right?
That's relatively recent.
Am I telling me my age now? Not since I say word processor, So there's a number of things that have changed.
Kazani.
Well, first, to when you said how much has things changed since the 90s, I was born in the 90s, so I don't really remember.
Don't go there, Hart. I don't want you. Now you're really making me feel old.
So this is sort of more of a fun one, Coach. During Mark Johnson's signing day show, he was talking about Kalen Moore and Tyron Taylor and how he wants to keep them at cornerback, but they're both very good at receivers. And he felt like he's going to have to fight you to keep them at corner so you don't move them over to receivers. So one, talk to me about the versatility that those two specific players bring to the table. And two, who wins that fight, you or Coach Moxie?
Yeah, both those guys are dynamic players. They play on both sides of the ball. And That's actually one of those recruiting things that I like that you don't see as often. You know how some coaches, and it starts in youth football and it goes through high school football, is that, back when I played and back in the 90s, I'm dating you, so I'll say before you were born, Hart, is, there was a lot of two-way playing, where people just played on both sides of the ball and they never came off the field. I think that's not as, it seems like that type of philosophy has changed a lot in youth sports. It's, they want to be fair and they want to, make sure that, all the players play and, they get a prize for not being in first place. All those things that are, that are different now than what it was back when I grew up and even in the 90s. So I think you're going to see, I actually love kids that play both sides. I love versatility. And the two you're talking about, Tyron and Kalen, yeah, they're very dynamic players, but they're really good corners. And we know that, even though they've been playing on the offensive side, we've recruited them as corners. But they know that, we want to do whatever it takes to help the team. I think we have enough depth at receiver right now. We got pretty good depth there, but those guys have been earmarked to really help us at corner because that's where we're really thin from a depth standpoint.
Adam Munster, Tiger.
Coach, you had one junior college signing this class, and that's somebody that had signed with CU previously. Philosophy-wise, do you like to kind of focus more on high school as opposed to JUCO, or is that just kind of how it worked out based on your roster construction right now?
I would say you're absolutely right, Adam, is that I'm more a high school recruiting philosophy than junior college. I think sometimes it's hard. And my thing with junior college players, and not that I wouldn't take one every now and then or so, I feel the frustration in my experience with junior college players, but is by the time you get them entrenched in your system, they're a senior and they're out. I'd rather get the guys playing and get them entrenched, and by their sophomore years they're pretty entrenched in our system, and then they have 2 years of eligibility to be really, really good. I think that's the problem with junior college is that, they're a quick fix when you need it, but then it does hurt you from a 4-year plan, if that makes any sense. So I don't want to be too heavily into the junior college world. I only want to do that only if we had to, and only if we needed that type of experience in our program. So they're really more specific cases than it is a philosophy to recruit 5 or 6 junior college kids a year.
And back to Sean Keeler.
Yeah, I was in college in the 90s, Hart, so you can go jump in a lake. 'Cause I'm old. I'm not Terry old, though. Karl, following up on that, you mentioned the JUCO kids, is it the same deal with guys from the portal? And how different is that? Because I've heard other coordinators and AAU types saying it's going to start looking like basketball. And I know you know what that's looked like for years on the football side, one. And two, apologies if you addressed this at the top, but where are you guys at logistically with LA and the game this weekend? And when are you told, yeah, you've got to go, not go? I can only imagine it's just been bonkers. Or is there a drop dead thing with the league where you don't have to come if something happens X, Y, or Z? Thanks.
There's a lot of information there, Sean. Golly.
Sorry.
I'm going to start with the last, which is, no, I haven't gotten any official notice about the conference yet in terms of that, when we got to go, anything like that. So I just got off the practice field. I haven't got any information about the changes, or if there are any changes other than what we're preparing for. I know that we're insurance for that game, and I haven't heard anything different. Okay, so that's that. And let me go back to the first part, because you said a lot of information. I'm not very smart. So go back to the first part of that question.
I'm sorry, no, the portal.
The portal? Yeah, you got to be careful. I think you're right, because you got to look at the portal and really the JUCO argument too as being really, really, they got to be really specific, right? That guy that you're getting out of the portal, is he going to be a guy that can impact you? That's the first and foremost. So if it's rather just having a guy for depth, I would rather not be in that situation and take another high school kid. Does that make sense? But if we think there's a guy in a portal that can help us and impact us right now, in you know, like say quarterback position, you know, because we don't have a lot of kids on scholarship with Tyler leaving, and you know we got Drew Carter now, but we got B. Lou and Sam here, so we technically on paper we have 3. Okay, in terms of scholarship quarterbacks right now, most programs have 4 to 5, so we're still short a guy there. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to take an older player that's got 1 year left, if that makes any sense. You know, we got Sam, and we're all indications. We're hoping Sam's back next year, so he should be a year better, and he's already an experienced player. You know, given the experience this year. So those are really specific cases when you go into the portal. You got to really see if he fits really not only our need, but also our timeline. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. And as a postscript, I've heard coaches say it means we've got to recruit our own roster all the time too. You know, if that makes it, is that what it's like for you, or are you recruiting your own kids again on a given year or a given day?
And you're right. I mean, sometimes, you know, there's going to be attrition. You know, there's going to be guys that, you know, there might be guys that are in our program that I'm sure might surprise us. That say, you know what, I think I want to go somewhere else to play. I'm not going to discount that. I think that could happen. So this is I would say a college version of free agency, you know, so to speak, you know, and we don't have all the answers for that, you know, when those things occur. But I would not be surprised if that happens, though, you know, even with our own team, with guys that maybe haven't played as much and they felt they should have, you know, maybe they want to go somewhere else. Those are all situations that could occur.
Okay, that looks like it from the crowd. Coach, next time we'll have you on will probably be when we know our bowl opponent. In the interim, would you like any of these media people on to sing happy birthday to you since you click over to 57 on Friday?
Oh, thank you, Dave, for letting everybody know I'm going to be that old. I don't even like to think about those numbers, but I try to stay young. I try to look young. I try to do all the things to keep me young. But I do know that myself coaching for 34 years now, coaching's kept me young. It really has, you know, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy being on the practice field. I enjoy mingling with the players. I enjoy, you know, being on the grass. So, you know, I think that's a big part of why, you know, I've been really fortunate to this point. So, but thanks for letting everybody know that I'm almost 60. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
I am 60. If you lay your mug shot here from 1992 next to the one we took in February, they're almost identical. Almost. I got a few grays, and it is that thing. I remember people used to tell me this, and now I'm going off on a sidebar, man. But I don't know why that when you get older, your hair and your ears all of a sudden start to show up. It's stronger than ever. What the hell's wrong with? What is going on with that? It seems like your damn nose hairs and hair in your ears are like, what? That wasn't a problem before. Why is it a problem now? You know, it's an age thing. You know, but. It definitely, the Mother Nature is telling me that I'm getting old, you know, no question. All right.
We lose hair where we don't want.
Yeah, that's right. I already don't have any hair, so, you know, that already took. So it's just signs of the time, right?
With ear hair. So I think
all right, guys. Anything else? All right. Thank you.